Welcome back to the show. It is 5:19 on your drive home, and when you hear that music, you know that it's time for checking in with our favorite Congressman Ted Poe from the 2nd District, live here on the Lance Roberts Show. Congressman Poe, how are you feeling today, sir?
I'm great, Lance. Thank you.
Well, you sound very upbeat and cheerful. What's got you all going in the right direction today?
I truly believe that the meeting with President Trump and Chairman Kim was a success. I think President Trump did a marvelous job of letting Kim know from the outset of all these talks that will be taking place over the next few weeks, maybe months, that they have to denuclearize, and we're going to have to be able to prove it before we do any lifting of any sanctions.
Yep.
I think that was the bottom line, and I think the president was proud of that, and I think Kim got the message from President Trump that the days of giving sanction relief with a promise by the North Korean regime are over. You get rid of your nukes. We have to verify it, and then we'll talk about lifting sanctions. I think that was the bottom line, and that's why I'm upbeat about it.
Well, and I think that's interesting that you said that because, a lot of the left media was coming out today and saying, talking about that we signed a deal for denuclearization and, we didn't. What we signed was a commitment to kind of move forward here. We got a lot more summits to go through before this is all ultimately done. So, but one of the big things I think is going to be, we're going to have to be very careful of this. I mean, I know that Donald Trump came away from the meeting saying, "Hey, Kim's a great guy, and I trust him right now." You can't trust this guy. I mean, this guy has lied so many times previously. He's got to be very careful to understand that what he says and what Kim does can be two very different things.
Absolutely, they have a history, over 60 years of lying to the United States. We have. The last three administrations all had a similar promise that from Kim and his daddy and his granddaddy that they would stop their nuclear weapon development, but they wanted some relief. They wanted some money. They wanted food. They wanted oil. They wanted sanction relief. The problem with all of that previously was the United States went ahead and gave them those benefits, and they did not get rid of their nuclear weapons. Those days are over. There's nothing. You're not going to get a thing until we prove that you have no nuclear weapon and you have no nuclear weapon capability. So I think that's the difference. I don't trust little Kim. Of course, I don't trust anybody, but I don't. And so I think the president
too many years as a judge, apparently.
Oh my land! Yes. Maybe that was diplomatic talk. Saving face in that part of the world is a big deal. Kim has to save face, and I think that's why the president said those diplomatic niceties to Kim. But I don't trust him either. We can't trust him. He's lied. He's lied so many times. We don't know how many times he's lied.
Well, I think it's interesting because so Donald Trump, he comes home, or on his way back home, he tweeted out, heading back home from Singapore after a truly amazing visit, great progress was made on the denuclearization of North Korea, hostages heading back home, no missiles shot, which was a good thing, and no research happening, sites are closing. So that's what Donald Trump says. Here's what Kim Jong-un said to his press. Urgent for North Korea and the U.S. to make a bold decision to stop irritating and taking hostile military actions towards each other. If the U.S. takes genuine measures to build trust, then we can continue to show additional goodwill. Two very different messages from the two leaders that walked out of that same meeting.
Well, I think the message is the same, really. The Kim has to show some progress, I guess is the word, and that the president acted in good faith in, as he said, stopping the war games. But Kim knows that going forward, the issue is still the same.
Yeah,
he's got to get rid of his nukes, and he has to let us verify that.
And so just when
I do believe talking to Kim is a lot better. These two guys talking to each other is much better than sending missiles to
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no doubt about that. But let's talk about reality here. I mean, here's a guy that has to save face with his people. I mean, he's a ruthless dictator, and the one thing he can't show is weakness. So, what is the real expectation that he will actually go the steps to legitimately denuclearize, allow inspections, those type of? I mean, that's a huge give for North Korea. Do we have the incentive to make that ultimately happen, do you think?
Do we have the incentive to make it, or does he?
Well, I should say, does he?
Here's the incentive. Here's the incentive.
Yeah.
We mean it. And the sanctions are working. The country is crippled economically. The sanctions are what got him to Singapore in the first place. The folks in North Korea are starving. What he wants is to remain in power. He does not want the thing to happen to him that happened to Omar Gaddafi.
Right.
He keeps, I think he dreams about what happened to Omar Gaddafi. And that's what he wants, is reassurance that we're not trying to overthrow the government.
Right.
And we want the nukes removed. And I think down the road we're going to get the rest. We're going to do the rest of the stuff.
Yep.
We're going to move to the weapons of mass destruction that he has been sending to Syria and Iran. We're going to move on forward to the human rights violations that he's just killing his people. Christians are being eliminated every day in North Korea. All of those things, I really believe we're going to get to those issues, but we can't get to those issues, or won't get to those issues till we stop the number one deal. Is that he's got nukes. He's a threat to the world. That's going to stop, and he wants to remain in power. He needs to understand, and must believe that the United States is not going to just take him out like what happened to Omar Gaddafi.
Well, that's and by the way, what you're referring to, just for our listeners, is that this is the Libya outcome, right? This is what happened in Libya. This was the kind of the progress and process that we took with Libya, and of course, this has kind of been the underlying plan with North Korea, which is the same kind of Libya outcome. So either you do this, or you're going to wind up like Omar Gaddafi. So.
And I think he believes that. I think he really believes that that's going to happen to him if he doesn't get rid of the nukes.
Well, the good news is that I thought one of the best lines coming out of the meeting today was instead of missiles, you could have the best hotels in the world. And apparently Trump showed him an iPad with some Trump hotels on it. So,
yeah, that's what's going to happen. There'll be a big T lit up in gold somewhere on the Korean coast.
Too funny. All right. Well, look, a couple of things I wanted to touch on here real quick is the ongoing kind of Russia investigation thing. Mueller kind of ran into a bit of trouble today, and he's scrambling to try to limit the evidence after the Russians that he indicted actually showed up into court. I guess he wasn't planning on them actually showing up, but this was the headline from Bloomberg. Special counsel Robert Mueller scrambling to limit pretrial evidence handed over to a Russian company he indicted in February over the alleged meddling in the 2016 election after the defendants actually showed up in court. So was that all a ploy by Mueller to subpoena and indict these Russian people, expecting them not to show up so he'd never have to reveal his cards?
I don't think he expected them to be there. And now that he has indicted them in the United States, they are entitled to certain discovery that they would have never been able to get if they hadn't been indicted. And they're going to be able to get that discovery because that's the law. You get indicted, and you're indicted, you get discovery from the government, the federal government, the FBI, the Justice Department has to turn over evidence to you. I don't think he wants to do that. I don't think he ever thought they'd show up. Now he's in a dilemma. He has two choices. Either turn over the evidence that the judge demands or dismiss the case. That's the choices that he has.
So let me ask you a question. I'm just trying to figure this out from a legal perspective, and since you've got the legal background, you're the better person to go to. I mean, what was the gamble on the front part? I mean, was this simply just to indict some people that he thought would never show up and he'd never have to deal with them, just to say he indicted somebody? I mean, is that where he is in this investigation?
I don't know his motives, but that's the way it looks to me. Yes, he did not expect to see them show up in the courtroom.
That's weak.
With their Russian lawyers.
That's weak. Well, I think that tells you more than you need to know about what the reality of this Russian investigation actually is.
No evidence of collusion.
Yeah, none at all.
Haven't found it yet.
Hey, I got to jump. I appreciate your time today, Congressman Poe. We'll have you back next week, okay?
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Congressman Ted Poe, 2nd District, right here on The Voice, Texas. Don't go away.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet. Sign up for Lance's newsletter now at lancerobertshow.com.